I'm straight and I'm a cis woman, which means when I was born, my gender and my biological sex were aligned, female and woman. So I'm a government nerd, as I mentioned. I'm obsessed with how you make government work better. I'm a technology nerd, even though I'm a bit of a Luddite. I try to do my best to think about how technology can make the world a better place as well. I've been a feminist since I was 4 years old, when someone told me that I couldn't do something because I was a girl. I'm pretty sure I stared them down really hard for a good 20 minutes. Put your hands up if you know what feminism is. Put your hands up if you've just never heard it before. You've heard it once, but you've got no idea what it means. Oh, okay, cool. So, everyone's got a bit of an idea. So, kind of definition of feminism is a theory of the political, economic, and social equality of the sexes. And very, very simply, that just means treating boys and girls the same, treating men and women the same. Neither is better or worse than the other, just treating them the same. So I have this in the back of my mind whenever I kind of look at technology and the impact that technology has. Oh, and I'm a woman who always has an opinion. So if you need an opinion, come talk to me. So why do we need to be careful about designing AI? And so I'm going to explore this over the kind of 20 or so slides I've prepared. And I'm going to do it looking at different kind of examples. And I'm not doing it to show you something that is good or is bad, but it's more about just to help you understand what the impact is. So you might think something is good or bad, that's fine, but I'm not trying to tell you what is good or bad. I'm trying to, I guess, make it a bit clearer how we can go about understanding the impact of technology. So has anybody seen these robots before? No? They're pretty cool, aren't they? Talking robot. It's amazing. So what's that robot on the far left meant to look like? Who's that meant to look like? Very cool. And what about the one closest to me? That's Sophia. Do you know how people would describe Sophia? Creepy. I think she's creepy. I saw her at a conference last year and almost.
Didn't she say something about destroying humanity?
Oh, yes, she did.
What do you think the human script is?
So she's programmed like any other robot. She's been described as a media darling. She's been on the cover of a fashion magazine. She's been designed to look like Audrey Hepburn. Whether they've achieved that or not, well, leave up to you. But what does it say? If we think about the company that's built these robots, what do you think their attitudes are towards men and women? So when they've represented a man in a robot, they've made them Einstein. When they've represented a woman in a robot, they've made them Audrey Hepburn. What does that tell you about what they think men should do and women should do? I think they think that men should be smart and be celebrated for being smart, and that women should be pretty. So, and just celebrated for being pretty. And I think looking at all the women and the girls in the room here, I know you're also smart as well. So that's just, they might not have done that consciously, but it just kind of, it's sending you a message of the values that the company has towards gender. And if we look at the person who owns the company, it helps us to start to understand the kind of the worldview or the perspective that they might have that has led to them building Einstein and then Audrey Hepburn into robots. So it's based on gender stereotypes that say that boys have to do one thing and girls have to do another thing, which, is not really in line with treating boys and girls the same. And also, I have a further question, which we can talk about later, which is, why do robots have to look like people? Why that? So that's for another time. But my message there is that technology embodies the values of the people who build it. And again, this is not necessarily good, it's not necessarily bad, it just is. And those values are then reproduced in society when other people use them. So just say I'm another company and I'm like, those robots, they're amazing, and I want to go and use them. And then by buying them and using them, I'm reinforcing the idea that boys should be smart and girls should be pretty. So I know you've heard about machine learning quite a lot. So who knows TAE? Who heard about TAE? Yes. Does anyone want to quickly explain to everybody what TAE is or was? Do you like to?
It kind of read everything that people were tweeting at it and tried to put together little sentences. It went a bit long.
Yeah, it went a little bit. So TAE is a Twitter bot that Microsoft built They released it in March 2016. It was represented as this, teenage girl who likes taking selfies, likes listening to Taylor Swift, wants to make friends with people. So very friendly Twitter bot. And it was machine learning based. So all of the tweets that people would tweet at it, it would then learn and kind of, develop its conversational skills through that. So it started with this. Humans are super cool. This is good. This is what we want to hear from a robot. But over time, people sent it awful tweets, awful things. And the Twitter bot went from being friendly to being less friendly. So calling people dumb on Twitter, to then actually becoming racist and anti-feminist. And I'm sure if it had the chance, it would be pretty homophobic as well. So that's an example, and this is awful. Like, that's an example of a bot starting in a particular space and then ending at this space because the people who built it, for some reason, didn't think that Twitter was sometimes an awful place to spend time on. So it's not to say that Microsoft were wrong or bad in building it, it's just to say that they obviously weren't thinking about the impact of putting a machine learning bot on Twitter. I think if they had any women who spend time on Twitter help design the bot, they might have been given a different perspective and they might have built it slightly differently. So, what we've just sort of run through quite quickly is everyone's got a position in society that informs their values, and then the values that we have, we usually kind of build into the design and production of the technology. When that technology is then going to be used, we're reproducing those values. And it actually, especially with AI, like a Twitter bot, when it can speak to thousands and thousands of people around the world at any one time, it kind of gives you more power over how the world develops. Those values you have, those attitudes you have as a Twitter bot are then being shared and passed on. So it's kind of, it actually is incredibly powerful. And also just kind of, I guess, following up on something that Ethan said earlier, technology, so this kind of technology is based on a hypothesis. You set your machine learning hypothesis, is it true or is it false? And that's actually very reductive. So that means something can either be true or false, but it can't be anywhere in the middle. Which, when it comes to people, that's not how we work. You're not either, sort of a circle or not a circle. They're kind of all these different things. I mean, some days are funny, some days are not funny, some days I've got great hair, some days I've got terrible hair. And I'm a woman, I'm white, I'm straight, so there's all these different facets to me that aren't just kind of a 1 or a 0, a true or a false. So what that means is we need to think about how do we design this technology to take all of those things into account. And I think echoing a lot of things that have been said so far that I've heard today, machine values are human values. When we build the machines, we're putting our values into them. So this is a really kind of easy way to think about when we're approaching our building things, especially the hackathon the next couple of days. What are some principles we can keep in our minds when we're kind of designing the technology? So the IEEE's ethically aligned design principles are kind of one of the, I'm sure there are others, but kind of one of the more kind of global, reports that came out early on thinking about ethics in AI and kind of principles in designing AI. So first of all, embody the highest ideals of human rights. So when that Twitter bot, Tay, was saying racist things, that's actually infringing people's human rights. Second of all, prioritise the maximum benefit to humanity in the natural environment. So going back to the smart cities idea, how can we use that to make our cities carbon neutral? And then mitigating any risks and negative impacts that might come about as these systems evolve. So just kind of keeping the stuff in the back of our mind at all times. So thinking specifically about human-computer kind of interaction, I've done a lot of research looking at chatbots, and I know chatbots aren't, a very good example of machine learning at the moment, but they're often the kind of interface where we can talk to a machine learning system. So I've developed this chatbot design process, and you would do this maybe not at the start when you're kind of trying to find a problem that you'd like to solve, but it's kind of, you do it just before you start building your technology. So it's the start of the design. So you can really think about these things and kind of think about them really carefully at the start, and then when you start building things, you can make sure that the impact the technology you want to have is kind of going to continue through that whole process. So there's kind of these 6 sections. specifically for chatbots. I don't think it is only kind of just for chatbots. I think, you know, that box with the dotted lines obviously is just for a chatbot. But everything else I think could probably be applied to other things you might want to build using artificial intelligence. I'm going to whiz through them really, really quickly. If you have any questions, absolutely come and talk to me about it. I'm sure this will be made available to you in some format.
We'll edit into Drive for you to all have access to, okay? As long as those drives are being accessed by you, not your parents. So just make sure.
So the first section is purpose and ecology. So what's the purpose of the chatbot? Is it going to meet a meaningful human need, or is it going to address an injustice in the world? And what ecosystem does the chatbot sit in? So what environment does it sit in? What kind of issues are happening in that environment? I mean, with Twitter, when you put a chatbot in there, Twitter is a very particular ecosystem. You've got to think about what are the groups of people on there, how does it work, what kind of things people use that platform for. So thinking about all those kinds of things is really, really important. Another thing is data. Sometimes, you know, like with the Tay example, the data that it was fed was pretty bad, and then you got a pretty bad result. And so thinking about how can we look at the sort of data that we're using to build these things and kind of clean it up so that if there are any biases in there that we don't want to have reproduced in the world, we can see that, we can fix it, and then we can kind of go from there. Another one is team. So like I did at the start of the presentation, I'm Josie, I'm a Black Australian, I'm a woman. You know, that means I've got particular values and I've got a particular position in society. So as a team, it's really good to go through this together. So because of our makeup, might be 5 young women, might be a mix, might be from all these different backgrounds. Because of our values, we're going to be more likely to pick certain kind of design choices or technology choices over others. And I think it's just important to acknowledge that that might work for us, but it's not necessarily going to work for everybody else. And that's okay. But it's good to know that. This is marginal user participation. So this is talking about people who are already poorly served with technology. So technology that just doesn't work for them. How can we find those groups of people, understand them, and then design something that does work for them so that they can access it too? And how can we do that in a way that we can work with those users so that they can be part of the process? Representation of the bot. This is just talking about how you want to represent it. So do you want to make it look human? Do you want to make it look like Audrey Hepburn? Why? Is that going to reinforce gender stereotypes, or is that going to challenge them? And lastly, self-disclosure. So this one's more about machine learning. When you've got a machine learning system that's kind of taking in all this data about you and making assumptions about what you like. So for example, if I buy, say, a pair of pink socks one time, and the algorithm thinks, oh, Josie must love pink socks. And actually I don't, I've just bought them for a friend. But the bot doesn't, or the algorithm doesn't know that. So it's just going to keep serving me up more and more pink socks, even though I don't actually want pink socks. So with the thing that you're building, is there a way for you to make those assumptions that system's going to make about the users? Can you make that clear? Can you turn those on and off? Can you kind of give them a bit more control over that stuff? So that was very fast. So I'm just going to recap. We went over machine values or human values, and AI is inherently reductive. It thinks things are either true or things are either false, which is fine. It just doesn't capture kind of all the different things that we experience. We have that make us human and give us a fully human experience. So that's why we need to think about human-centered AI, and that's what the first chatbot design process was made to do. So there you go. Thank you very much, everybody.